That's Sourdough Sam.
No, Sourdeath Sam.
Sourdeath Sam. Sourdeath Sam.
Sourdeath Sam.
Disrespect to Sourdeath Sam will not continue.
What's up, everybody? What's going on? Let me make sure I'm not frozen. All right, I think we're good. What's going on, everyone? I am Sourdeath Sam. And I am so thrilled to have you all here with me.
Yes, sir.
Truly am. We are on the heels of a beautiful opening day. Anytime you can get a victory on opening day, it feels good. When it's against the Jets, it feels like it should have happened, and it did. So that's good. I think there were questions about, is Aaron Rodgers going to make this team lethal? Is he going to be the gunslinger he once was and pierce this defense led by a new defensive coordinator this year? Is he going to pierce this defense like Swiss cheese and turn us into a top 10 things not to do highlights on ESPN? Didn't turn out that way. 32-19 victory. And honestly, all things considered, not a bad start, especially considering that we had some drops from Brandon Ayuk. We had Trent Williams coming in effectively with maybe a couple practices under his belt. And we were obviously, being the headline, playing without Christian McCaffrey on the field. If you were watching the broadcast, you literally saw the analysts want to flip their pick from San Francisco to the Jets because they had grown so concerned over what this team would look like without Christian McCaffrey that they felt compelled to go with the Jets. The Jets, dude. And let me tell you something. You should never root for the Jets. Because they're always going to let you down. But not for us. They did us real good. And let me tell you.
Yes, sir.
Let me tell you something. Hey, audience, shut the fuck up. We got a wonderful display of running back from J.P. Mason. Jordan Mason entered the field and made every one of those analysts who flipped want to flip back immediately. We'll go into that later in the episode. I've got a wonderful guest coming on by the name of Brian Peacock. But the Jordan Mason story was such a beautiful highlight to such a big question mark. Another highlight also being Dominic Pooney. Played phenomenally in his first game. Looking forward to seeing how he's going to match up against a suite of NFL starting defensive linemen. I want to see him battle tested. This is going to be the year, and he's going to have some challenges ahead, without a doubt. Let me go ahead and pop into some of my chat here. I got to do a better job of that. We got Jen Sweeney. We knew what we had in Mason this whole time. Ooh, Jen.
Yes,
Ooh,
sir.
Jen. So glad you said that. Yeah, give Jen a round of applause. This fucking audience. I have been a Freemason Hive battalion leader for years now, actually. There are tweets dating back to 2022 where I pledged allegiance to the Jordan Mason flag. He runs like a dog, and we'll go into that a little bit later. But yes, Jen, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
What else we got here? Haywire says, after that messy bitch that was us in the playoffs, I'll take a comfy win. We were kind of a messy bitch, weren't we? I feel like the Lions game stressed me out. Super Bowl obviously doesn't need to be talked about ever again. There was a lot to be left desired. We also pulled out some miraculous wins. So, it's whatever. I'd rather be in the playoffs than not in the playoffs. There's a lot of people who say, well, I would rather win the Super Bowl. Well, I don't want to dig myself in a hole here. Let me just say that I would rather be in the playoffs more often than not. And if it took a little bit longer to get a Super Bowl versus having 9 out of 10 years of just pure misery, I don't know. As a fan, I always want that hope. I want the optimism, the hope. I don't know. Grill me in the comments. I don't give a shit. I want to watch football as long as I can. So that's how I feel.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Who is very invested in these messy bitch games is a very messy bitch friend, myself, who happens to go by the name of Kyle 5000. Kyle, how you feeling about the win over the Jets? Obviously over your old pal, Robert Saleh. Turns out the Jets were not as hot as we thought they'd be. Just kind of want to get your opinion, Coach. See how you feel.
Yeah, we got the W. But sticking it to Saleh? Come on. Man, that's not the point. I'm not losing sleep over beating the Jets. They're barely a threat. Saleh's a good dude, but this wasn't some grudge match. It's just business. We took care of a team we should beat, plain and simple. I'll care more when we're beating teams that actually matter.
God, I love the way you think. I love the way you talk. Listen, man, we got Brian Peacock coming on the show. Any words for him before we have him hop on and do his thing?
Yeah. I've checked out Brian Peacock's stuff. The guy knows what he's talking about. He actually pays attention to what's happening on the field, unlike some of these other clowns. His analysis is sharp, and he doesn't get caught up in the nonsense. I respect that. He's got a good feel for the team, and he doesn't just spew hot takes for clicks. Definitely one of the smarter voices out there when it comes to covering the Niners. Should be a good conversation.
I think so too. Kyle 5000, everyone. What a mensch. Kyle 5000. I think it's going to be a great conversation with Brian. Can't wait to bring him on. But I've got a few more things to drag you through, I'm afraid, before we do bring him on. The first of which is everyone's favorite addiction, which is gambling.
Yes, sir.
All right, you degenerates. It's game time. Sourdeath Sam's $5 pick'em, currently unsponsored. If you are one of these companies with loads of money from desperate sports fans, please sponsor Sourdeath Sam. He's a good guy. He'll make your promos fun. In the meantime, unlabeled Sourdeath Sam's $5 pick'em.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Enough talk, brother. Let's get into it. So I put down $5 for a parlay that could win me $12.50. Now you might be asking yourself, which players are you picking to lose this time? Well, let me tell you. I got a gimme pick, which is CeeDee Lamb. I got him getting over 0.5 yards. I think that's probably doable. Thank you, unnamed sports betting brand. Jalen Waddle, I got him getting a touchdown. I just feel it in my loins. Buffalo's going to be a tough matchup. We'll see what goes down. Jalen Waddle, man, don't sleep on him. I know Tyreek Hill, he's a dog, but Jalen Waddle's a dog too. I got him getting a touchdown in the first half, by the way. Jake Moody. Ooh, Jake Moody. Love you, baby boy. I love you, Jake Moody. I would die for you. I got him making more than 2 field goals. That motherfucker got 20 points last week.
Yes, sir.
That's my dog. Derrick Henry, I got him getting a rushing touchdown for sure. I'm thinking red zone. I think Lamar's tired of getting hit right now. Let the big dog handle it. Derrick Henry, 1 touchdown for show. Brock Bowers, I got him getting a touchdown too. Why not? Let the rookie get a treat. You know what I'm saying? He's a young guy. He deserves a little special treat. Jaden Daniels, man, he's running. I got him getting a rushing touchdown because watch out. If you got him on fantasy in a deep round, God bless you, man. I think you did yourself a favor. And lastly, I got this guy, this young rookie, making up for a very tough opening game. I think he wants to prove that he is the man. I got Marvin Harrison Jr. getting a rushing or receiving touchdown. Those are my picks. 1 second here. Those are my picks. I got a feeling that one of these is gonna hit at some point. We'll see which one. Lastly, I got one more. What's this? I got people talking about my gambling habits. Let's talk about it. Haywire. I don't need to ask what your hit rate is. This lockdown bank. Thank you. Don't ask me what my hit rate is. You're not gonna like it. I don't. All right. I got one last thing to talk about before we bring on my very special guest, and it's a new segment. God, I love new segments, man. Love them. And this one in particular, I love to death, because now we're going to talk about my big dog of the day.
Big dog. Big dog. Big dog.
You're probably wondering who my big dog of the day is. There's a lot of big dogs on the 49ers. A lot of them. Let me tell you who the biggest dog of the day was. Jordan motherfucking Mason. 147 yards, 2 touchdowns on 28 carries. You know how big a dog this big dog is? He led the league with 13 missed tackles. That's 5 more missed tackles than the closest player behind him. There were so many people who counted the 49ers either out of this game or thought it was going to be way closer than it was. And look, with Christian McCaffrey out, I'm a Jordan Mason enthusiast. There's still some question marks because, and let's be clear, Christian McCaffrey is a lot of our offense if you look at last year. Not a problem. You know why? Because we got a big dog on the field by the name of Jordan Mason. So, if you're wondering who the big dog of the day is, it's Jordan Mason. Ladies and gentlemen, big dog of the day.
Big dog. Big dog. Dog of the day.
All right. Enough. You know who else is a big dog? I got a big dog in the wings right now. His name is Brian Peacock. He is the host of Overtime with Brian Peacock.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He is the co-host of Locked On 49ers podcast and Peacock and Williamson.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Brian motherfucking Peacock.
Yeah. What's happened? Sam?
Yeah.
Sourdeath Sam? I'm pumped.
That's it, baby. Oh, I'm getting a little echo. Are you getting an echo?
It's sounding a little choppy to me. I sound okay to me. You sound choppy to me. Do I sound weird to you?
You sound good.
Okay.
Chat. One second, Brian.
All right.
This is so juiced up. Okay, let's see. All right. Check.
I got you. You sound good.
All right. They're still getting
Is there still
echo.
an echo?
Time. Yeah. Oh God, Brian, screw all this up.
Should I click the beautification button? I don't have that on my software that I use for recording podcasts.
You don't have the beautification button?
No, we don't get beautification on the Locked On Podcast Network.
Oh, dude. Just talk to your boy. Damn, I still got an echo. All right, you know what? What are we gonna do? Brian, I screwed all this up. One sec. Brian, why don't we do this? While I'm echoing, why don't you talk about your thoughts on the game?
On the Jets game or on the upcoming game? Are we closing the book on the Jets still?
No, I think we should talk about the Jets game.
Okay. Look, I'm glad I was on in time to hear you give the Big Dog of the Week award to Jordan Mason, because he's absolutely a big dog. I love the way this guy finishes runs. I like the way he starts runs. I like the middle of his runs as well. He's a beast, and I'm so glad we finally got an opportunity to see him play a full game and start a full game and get 28 carries. I didn't need 28 carries, but I wanted to see 15 carries. I wanted to see 10 carries. I wanted to see 20 carries and see what that looked like, because I had a feeling it would look a lot like what we saw. And he's a beast, and he's a humble dude, and I was so excited for him, and I hated how it went with the whole, like, when Christian McCaffrey was – when he was notified that Christian McCaffrey is going to be out and he was going to be the starter, and it kind of, ruined his night a little bit. That bothered me, because he should have relished in all the glory of his 147 rushing yards, and it was so fun to watch. I love watching him play, and it's really good to know that if you lose a star player, you have someone that can jump in and carry the ball 28 times and go win and go dominate, go thoroughly dominate with the depth players on your roster. I think that's so huge for this team that's trying to win a Super Bowl. And if Christian McCaffrey, popped his Achilles before the Super Bowl, and you didn't know exactly what you had, you thought you saw it in short spurts with Jordan Mason, but you hadn't totally seen it, you'd feel really weird going into a big game, right? But now you lose Christian McCaffrey, you're going to be okay. You're going to be able to run the football. And I had a suspicion that's the way it was going to be. And we've seen, whether it's Raheem Mostert or Matt Breida or Elijah Mitchell, or even going back to other spots that Kyle Shanahan has coached, and Mike Shanahan before him, and Steve Slayton and Alfred Morris, we know that a Shanahan offense is going to be able to run the ball. And obviously Christian McCaffrey brings so much to the table, and who knows, maybe he would have run for 200 yards. But it's so fun to watch somebody else get the rock for once. And maybe it's kind of a wake-up call to everybody. Be like, all right, McCaffrey, we want you to play 5 more years and not pop your Achilles, right? And so let's dial back the rushes, maybe utilize you more in a wide back role as a receiver as well, because we've got a guy that we can give the ball to 10 times a game and save some of those carries from Christian McCaffrey and utilize both of these guys. But it's funny, because Kyle Shanahan doesn't really love spreading the ball around as far as the run game goes. And when a guy's healthy, whether it was Elijah Mitchell before him, remember when Elijah Mitchell was hurt all week and was like, oh man, he's going to be limited this week, 27 carries or whatever it was.
Totally.
Christian McCaffrey goes out, and Jordan Mason, 28 carries. Isaac Grendo trotted on the field one time, and then they called a timeout and pulled him back off the field and put Jordan Mason back out there. And when Christian McCaffrey's out there, obviously nobody else gets to touch the ball. So we can spread the wealth a little bit here and maybe get through a whole season with everybody's bodies intact.
Yeah, no, I think that's a huge point. First of all, I mean, this comment right here is so indicative. I don't know how CMC does this every week. I don't know how he does it every week either. Clearly, there is a wear and tear that's going on in his body that is tacking on mileage faster than I'm sure we're hoping. But the Jordan Mason experience was so valuable, because we know that we've got a little baby Marshawn Lynch who's ready to take the rock and demonstrate a hard-nosed level of football that we hope to employ against teams, because that's been our brand for so long. The other thing I would say is it was starting to give me chills watching Debo take so many snaps at running back, and not in a good way. I would say what it was doing for me was it was triggering levels of stress where I didn't want to see him get eliminated from an injury due to that role. And luckily, we've been in a place. Oh, echo still. Luckily, we've been in a place where we haven't had to see that this past week.
And the Debo carries weren't as effective as the Mason carries. And the Debo carries since 2021 have been kind of getting less and less effective. So I don't know if it's a factor of, okay, teams are ready for it. They see Debo in the backfield and they know what to key on. Whereas if you have a running back in the backfield, kind of everything's open. I think maybe the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan needs to throw in more wrinkles where Debo's in the backfield and he doesn't get the ball handed to him. Maybe you throw it to him out of the backfield a little more, or use him more as a decoy when he is in the backfield to try to open up something else, because it does seem like defenses are really keying on Debo, especially when he's in the backfield. And obviously we want him to stay healthy too.
Completely. One second. So, honestly, the thing I would say impressed me the most was how our boy Jake Moody getting 20 points. That was something I needed to see as well, because 2 of those were 50-yarders. I know we've got Jason Aponte in the audience. I'm curious to see how he feels about that. But it's nice to know that we can sort of get those rookie year lumps pushed aside of sort of the hard knocks of being a rookie kicker picked in an early round, and to see him go out there and say, you know what, I've got this. Let's not make me a concern this season.
No doubt. I mean, he outscored the Jets all by himself, scored 20 points. I mean, 6 field goals, 6 for 6. He was hitting long field goals as well, 50 plus. So you love seeing that. And again, it's sort of like the Jordan Mason thing, knowing that you can count on it. And I think, there's belief in the building about things, but when you're watching the game from the outside, whether you're media, your fans, you're like, well, I don't know if I fully believe that the kicker is going to make all these big kicks and kick 6 in a row. And then he does it. And you're like, okay, cool. Well, we don't have to worry about that. Oh, man, you have Christian McCaffrey out. I don't know if this backup running back, if the offense is going to be able to run the same. Oh, no, cool. That looked amazing. So we're good there. And so I love checking off boxes. I love checking off boxes on the offensive line, seeing a rookie right guard out there for the 49ers and see him playing just like he looked in the preseason. And it didn't get so fast for him in the regular season and, blocking Quinnen Williams like, oh, man, this isn't, the Raiders' second-team D-line. This is Quinnen Williams, an all-pro player. And he looked just fine doing that. And
Correct.
The new 49ers defensive line, and that checks the box, like, because there's a lot of new bodies there. What's this going to look like? And they were amazing against the Jets run game. And aside from like one nice run from Breece Hall, 16-yarders, he was like 2 yards a carry. And so the Niners checked a lot of boxes for me in week 1 against that New York Jets team that's, I think, still going to be pretty good. And I think we'll see some better Jets performances than we saw on Monday night. And I think the 49ers were a big piece of why that Jets performance probably was underwhelming for a lot of Jets fans.
Yeah, I can only imagine how frustrating that would have been as a Jets fan. You finally get Aaron Rodgers to play a whole game, and then here's Nick Sorensen with his new defense, and it looks pretty damn good.
I got some numbers for you, by the way, for Nick Sorensen's defense, and I'm going to pull it up here because I want to get it right. This is
the perfect time to lay it down.
This is not so much the front seven. We're looking at the coverage usage on the back end. So last year, under Steve Wilkes, the 49ers ran a ton of zone, and they ran zone to specifically cover 3, cover 4 coverage shells. The 49ers ran that about 60% of the time. They were 32% in cover 3 in the 2023 regular season, and they were 27%. So nearly 60% combined cover 3, cover 4 shells on defense, and then they mixed in a little cover 1 man and a little cover 2 zone as well. So that was mostly what the 49ers did last year in coverage. And in week 1, and this is a small sample because it's only one opponent that the 49ers played against, so it could have been game plan specific. We'll see if this continues. So the 49ers, again, that was 60% cover 3 and cover 4. And in week 1 for the 49ers, it was only 23% total cover 3 and cover 4. It's 13% cover 3, 10% cover 4, but they were 35% in man coverage, cover 1, and then did some more like Tampa 2 stuff, cover 2 with 23%. So they were 60, instead of 60% cover 3 and cover 4, they were 60% cover 1 and cover 2 in week 1 against the New York Jets. So we'll see if that continues and see if the 49ers are going to lean into their coverage guys and trusting Diamador Lenore, trusting Ward, trusting Yedem, and going a little bit more man heavy this year.
We'll be very interesting to see. I mean, as of today, we're 10th in yards per game allowed. So congrats, we're a top 10 defense after week 1. And honestly, some of the defenses ahead of us, not so steep competition that they were up against in week 1. We don't know how the Jets will fare all season long, but they are certainly going to be a much more formidable this year than they were last year. I think the most exciting thing was that it feels like he passed his test, at least his first one. We had a big unknown with Nick Sorensen. Most of us had to do a lot of deep dive digging to figure out who he even was. But clearly, he is someone who the players trust. Clearly, he is someone who can hold his own. Considering that the architect of our former defense was the architect of the chief architect of the Jets, they had every license to be able to figure out how to pick us apart. And luckily, Nick Sorensen knew how to reconfigure the wiring to ensure that we were capable of adjusting, especially after that first quarter.
No doubt. And the run fits were great, too. Like they did an amazing job. I do think they might have traded off the run game for the pass rush a little bit in that game. They wanted to make sure they were getting Aaron Rodgers in third down situations and not allowing them to run the ball on him because they didn't really pressure Rodgers a lot. The Leonard Floyd got in for a sack. Rodgers maybe got hit twice in the game. And I think that was by design. I think they were like, look, we're going to play the run maybe on the way to the quarterback, but we really need to get our run fits down and because that was ugly at times last year. And I'm fine with that trade-off with the way it looked. Like we don't need 20 sacks a year from Nick Bosa. Bosa's going to get his. You got to make sure you get to those third down situations first before you worry about rushing the quarterback. And so so far Nick Sorensen and the 49ers defense passed a huge test. And, I even like Devondre Campbell, a linebacker, too. I mean, he crushed Garrett Wilson, by the way, twice on that one drive where Rodgers and Wilson started getting a little hot. And I think he might have hurt Garrett Wilson a little bit because we didn't hear much from Garrett Wilson for the rest of the game. He might have caught one or two passes after that one drive. And so good on the 49ers defense for leaning on the Jets, both defensively and offensively. And then good on Nick Sorensen for not allowing Rodgers and, a star in the making in a receiver who's really dynamic and I think going to be awesome in this league and Garrett Wilson and not letting them get hot and start torching you. It was one drive and then that was it.
Totally. And to your point on the run game, 54 yards of rushing for Breece Hall. This is someone who some folks said pick him with the 1-1 pick in fantasy. He's the guy you want. He also got 39 yards receiving, but less than 100 yards total offense from Breece Hall. Very dynamic weapon. Not a bad start to the Nick Sorensen story as far as his role as defensive coordinator.
Yeah, no doubt. And 16 of those 54 yards were on one play. And so, he was, I think, less than 2 yards per carry on every other carry aside from that one. So, love that. Love what I saw from the 49ers against the pass coverage, against the run, and obviously bullied them on the offensive line, too. And not only the offensive line, Debo was blocking his butt off out there. On the Jordan Mason touchdown run, both Debo Samuel and George Kittle had pancake blocks. And then there was the BS holding call on Debo, where he was blocking all the way into the end zone for Jordan Mason. They called a holding penalty for some weird reason on that play, and they called back that touchdown run for Jordan Mason. So Mason should have had 2 on the night.
That's so indicative of why I'm grateful for Kyle Shanahan's doghouse, is I think it fortifies blocking machines. And when it comes to Debo especially, I mean, he's already such a juggernaut as far as how he's built and how he runs and how the mentality he brings to the game. And so the fact that he is willing to employ all of that and bundle it together for just such a solid run blocking addition to his skill set makes a huge difference for folks like Jordan Mason who are trying to get momentum in a game and they get that and then some.
You know what? I just realized I got to rep the podcast here. I got a 1 of 1. You can see it.
That goes very hard.
Locked On 49ers podcast hat. So I want to rock that.
That goes very hard.
You
design that?
Good on your video. What's that?
Did you design that?
I did design it. There was a company called, I believe, Hood, and you can kind of design your own little hats. And I like the old school look to it. And so I just added the Locked On podcast to the 49ers logo. And there's no logo creep everywhere because you can't find a hat anymore that doesn't have 9 logos on it. somewhere.
I know.
And yeah, so this is a one of one hat that I wear sometimes during the podcast, and I wanted to match how good your video looks. By the way, what's your
you
secret
stop
to how
that.
good your podcast looks?
You stop that. You stop that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Flattery will get you everywhere with me.
Yes.
All right. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, man. CMC later. What's going on? We got a lot of question marks here, and a lot of them involve our star running back. I will say that I am aware that one of your co-hosts happens to be very familiar with Achilles tendonitis. For those who don't know, Achilles tendonitis is an injury where the Achilles tendon, which connects to your calf muscles to your heel, becomes inflamed. And when this tendon, which is very crucial for walking and running and jumping, gets irritated, it can hurt like a motherfucker.
Yes.
The concern here is that if he continues to aggravate it, he runs the risk of the injury getting worse with, God forbid, knock on wood, a potential tear, etc. So please tell me, based on your conversations with Crocky, what you have learned about Achilles tendonitis.
Well, on one hand, I would say like Croc's a little bit older than Christian McCaffrey, and so old guy stuff, and I've been there too, and I start getting different joints and soft tissue breaking down on me when I'm trying to go out and do things that are certainly not playing NFL running back. Slow pitch softball. Like I'm in pain hitting an underhand pitched ball, going out on the golf course where you have to run it all, and sometimes feeling some pain. And for Croc, I'm a little bit older than Croc is, but man. When it comes to being an NFL running back, maybe being late 30s, 40 years old for a normal person doing normal stuff is probably what it feels like to be a 28-year-old running back in the NFL. Like he's an old man as far as that goes. Like he's at the point where you start, where big things start happening to you. Like, and it happens to the best of them. And he's looked like a cyborg for the last 2 years. And that's where it kind of ties into what I was talking about with the usage. And this is like not a new idea. Like, oh man, Kyle Shanahan should have really backed off on him in previous seasons. And we talked about it during the season last year. It was early in the year, like week 2 or whatever. We're like, maybe chill out on Christian McCaffrey. And dude's played 40 games the last 2 years when you talk about the postseason as well. So you got to be smart with him. And he's at an elderly age for NFL running backs. And I do think it would be smart to dial back the usage as far as carries and maybe start utilizing his ability as a receiver too. And so on top of all of that, good news from Dr. Pandya, local UCSF doc that is kind of the local sports doc. And he said the good news is, even though it sounds bad and you would think it's a high risk of Achilles rupture, there is a risk of Achilles rupture for people who have Achilles tendonitis, but it's pretty low. It's more like 4 to 10% chance that an athlete is going to rupture an Achilles tendon with Achilles tendonitis. And, there's varying degrees of it, and that that not all cases are severe, but some injuries can take several weeks, if not several months, to resolve. And we've seen that with Christian McCaffrey. But here's the part I don't like, and it's kind of the last bullet point from Dr. Pandya. He says, decreasing workload is key for this injury to prevent chronic changes to the tendon. And so has Christian McCaffrey's tendon already been chronically changed, or can they alter the future of his tendon? I think of Back to the Future. Remember when Doc Brown is on the chalkboard in Back to the Future and he draws a line for 1985 and then he draws a skewed line for the alternate 1985? Which line is Christian McCaffrey's Achilles on? Can we still alter it and skew it down to a 1985 where Christian McCaffrey's Achilles isn't chronically altered?
Yeah, I mean, that's a terrifying thought, but an incredible reference. I think workload is becoming a central focus for, at least for fans who love Christian McCaffrey, who would love to see him in on every play, but at the same time recognize that there's a reason why Jordan Mason gets off the field after a full game and goes, fuck. Bro, what are you doing? He did that every week. He was like our offense in totality. For many games, he's even thrown touchdowns. I think the big concern here is obviously longevity. We obviously reworked. We got his contract taken care of, and that's all well and good. I personally don't mind if Jordan Mason gets a little bit more love and some extra touches. And like you said, I don't mind if Christian McCaffrey gets deployed in more of a more dynamic role, more focused on the passing side. He's capable of doing all of it. We know that.
Yeah.
It's why we love him.
I think, and look, the kind of the plan that we've all talked about, where it's like, okay, you're gonna sign Brandon Ayuk long term. He's younger. His body's probably going to age a little better than Debo's, and then maybe next offseason you trade Debo. And if that scenario does happen, I think the option or the idea of kind of transitioning Christian McCaffrey to a wide back role, I think is a phenomenal idea for the 49ers. And it would elongate his career. You're paying him $10 million less than a wide receiver to do more wide receiver stuff, but still be a running back. And really, when you look at skill sets around the NFL, maybe one of the closest players in ability to Deebo Samuel, because every draft season there's like, oh, this guy's going to be the next Deebo Samuel. Nobody's ever the next Deebo Samuel. Christian McCaffrey's probably the closest guy. So the 49ers probably have not only Deebo, but maybe the closest to what he can do, both as a runner, receiver. And, Deebo's not the type of guy that just routes people up all day either, right? So they've got wide back 1 and wide back 2 already on the roster. So it's a natural transition, I think, for me for Christian McCaffrey to have less carries, more targets in the passing game going forward as he finishes his career with the 49ers.
Totally. And I think you hit it right on the head. Like when I saw Deebo in for the snaps that I would normally see Christian McCaffrey on, I would rather have seen Christian McCaffrey in there because I know we need Deebo. I know we need Deebo locked in to what he's doing. But Christian McCaffrey, clearly a dynamic character. I'm hoping this is not too many weeks off. And it seems like, according to Kyle Shanahan, I quote, he's never considered putting McCaffrey on IR. At least that's what he told the media. I was considering him to play last week. So definitely not thinking about 4 weeks off. So we'll see.
And McCaffrey himself said that he's practicing like he's going to play this week. So we'll see what happens. And, he might need to save him from himself a little bit. And that goes for in the game when Christian McCaffrey does play. You know how he runs off the field and he puts up the number 1. He's like, I'm going to leave for one play and come back in. It's like, that's cool, Christian. I appreciate that. But you're not the coach. So let the coaches tell you how many snaps you're going to get. You're going to come off the field. And you don't tell us how many snaps that Jordan Mason's going to get when you come out of the game. We'll tell you when you're going to go back in the game, and it might need to be for an entire series here and there. It might need to be – you got to be smart with him because clearly we would rather have Christian McCaffrey playing games in January than playing games in September.
100%. 100%. It seems like I'm still getting an echo. I switched mics. That didn't work out. Let me go back. You're hearing me okay, though, right?
I got you. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Sweet.
The new mic you went to didn't sound quite
to my
right.
audience, I apologize. Looks like we got one more conversation to have. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the 49ers versus Vikings. This is the upcoming matchup against the Ghostbuster himself, Sam Darnold. We may have underestimated the Vikings a little bit, but again, I'm not sure how much we can consider their previous competition as premier defense and offense. So let's talk about this matchup. Is there anything that concerns you? Is there anything that stands out?
One nugget I learned today from Luke Braun, who's the host of Locked On Vikings. And actually, everybody, I want you to tune into Locked On 49ers, 8 o'clock Pacific tonight, right after we're done here.
Yes, sir.
Our latest episode is going to go live. It is the, as we do every week, the Thursday crossover episode. You always get the pods. They're first thing in your audio podcast feeds in the morning, and that's how we like to do it on Locked On 49ers. But usually the video, the YouTube version, goes up the night before. So 8 p.m. tonight's going to be the premiere of our newest episode, and it's the Vikings 49ers crossover. And those are always really fun conversations to get you excited about the new week of football. And the Vikings in week 2, Luke Braun, the host of Locked On Vikings, informed us, and maybe I'll ask it to you the same way he asked me. Sam, do you know the last time the 49ers beat the Vikings in Minnesota?
I don't know.
Just guess a random year.
2012.
1992.
Damn.
That's sad. It seems insane, right? They don't play that often at Minnesota, but the 49ers haven't won at Minnesota since 1992, which is pretty wild. So I don't know why that is or what it is. And the 49ers played the Vikings played the 49ers tough last year too. So and they know it's going to have to be there. It's going to be up to they know the challenge that they're up to playing against the 49ers and the physicality that the 49ers bring. And I think they're well coached in a way that they get ready for games well. And I think that's why we saw what we saw in week 1 from the Minnesota Vikings. That's why we've seen Sam Darnold play well, and he was coached up well with the 49ers, and Sam Darnold now continues to be coached up well with Kevin O'Connell. He's a really good coach. And I do think, though, that Sam Darnold, probably for the rest of his football playing life, and maybe other aspects of his life, I don't know, still will throw the ball to the other team. So the 49ers have an opportunity to collect turnovers, I think, in this game. And so that's still something that I'm not going to be sure about Sam Darnold as much as he's better than he was when he was had no shot with the New York Jets. I won't believe that Sam Darnold isn't a turnover machine until he just stops being a turnover machine for an extended period of time. He had one interception last week. I think he was hit as he was throwing the ball. So, not a seeing ghosts situation, but they're playing the New York Giants, not the San Francisco 49ers. So we'll see how many ghosts are out there on the field. See if the 49ers can get off the schneid in Minnesota and win a game on the road in that stadium. But I don't know what it's called anymore.
Well, it's called US Bank Stadium, and I know that because Echo be damned. I will tell a quick story because I was there last year.
Okay.
And being at that game, beautiful stadium, just shitty result. And some drunk motherfucker next to me, way too drunk, got thrown out, threw a beer cup over the ledge, got kicked out, and then told my girlfriend she was hot. So, thanks, Minnesota. First of all, Darnold last week against the Giants, yes, not the 49ers, but 79.8% completion percentage, not bad. Did have that pick. Do expect another one next week, especially considering how well our defense knows Sam Darnold. And one thing I'm looking out for sure is how is Purdy going to handle the blitz? Last year, the Vikings blitzed on over 50% of his dropbacks. And clearly they got to him at some point because there was a point in that game where Purdy was not looking very Purdy-like. In fact, that was resonating all the way through Halloween. And I'm hoping that at the very least our offensive line will be more equipped to handle that blitz. And B, I'm hoping that he is capable of being okay knowing when to quit on a play and just throw it out of bounds if he needs to. The thing I don't want him to do is take sacks, too many sacks at least. And I'm hoping that his offensive line is not going to put him in that position. I do know, Trent Williams was back after, chilling all summer, but even he allowed 0 pressures on 33 passing plays this past week. So looks like he's doing good. We got Pooney up front. Perhaps we are going to be in better shape with all that pressure, but believe me, if it works back then, they're going to try it again.
Right. The good thing is Brock Purdy's seen it now. And he knows what to expect from that defense, that scheme, and he's going to get blitzed. That's just, it's just the way it is. And overall, Brock Purdy's really good against pressure too. So I think he's going to be up to the challenge. And I can't wait to see what that looks like for him and see what the answers are now from Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy against something that they've seen with this group. And I think that's pretty important.
Yeah, and I think you made a great point. I feel compelled to clarify. I actually believe Brock Purdy performs pretty damn well under pressure. There were some games early in his career where the irony was that some of his best throws were when he was under pressure and some of his worst throws were when he wasn't. In this particular case, I'm less worried about him delivering great throws under pressure. I'm more worried about him taking damage because it's so early in the season, and I saw it. It was there that game, and then the following game at Levi's last year after the Vikings game around Halloween. something was just wrong. And later it started to come out like, you need a little bit of time to recover from that game. But I'm just hoping he stays upright. Obviously, this Christian McCaffrey is enough of a variable we have on our plate, and I think big things are ahead for Brock. He looked solid in this last game. He didn't have to superhero his way to victory, but I'm back to where I was last year, which is where I watch him line up to throw a ball. I trust it. Whatever's about to happen, I trust that it was probably the best decision, and I didn't always have that feeling, that sentiment with previous 49ers quarterbacks.
No doubt. I think Brock Purdy's just proved it, and we saw it again in Week 1. And you look at the box score, and it doesn't really tell the whole story. His best throw of the night wasn't caught by Brandon Ayuk, and a drop, sure, but it was a difficult catch also. So I don't think Brandon Ayuk said that at his locker that he was like, I didn't really want to watch the film. I don't think he liked the way he performed, and he's still getting into mid-season shape. And, that's what sucks about a holdout or a hold in his case. Luckily, Trent Williams, he needed an IV in the fourth quarter. So hopefully he's got a little bit more of his lungs and his legs under him. Maybe he can play the full game here. Maybe he has to get a halftime IV, maybe a pregame IV. I don't know how that works. Maybe he already got a pregame IV. But slowly getting guys back, maybe even a little Hufanga siding. Who knows? Maybe Christian McCaffrey will play. I don't think the 49ers need to force him into the game, though. I would be totally fine with Christian McCaffrey. Precautionary, sit it out. We've seen how good it looks with other running backs. It's okay. Get healthy first. Make sure you're not going to pop that Achilles, because that's just something the 49ers don't want to deal with. And you're right about Brock Purdy. Like, stay upright. Live to play another down. Live to play another day. Get rid of the ball. Get it out of your hands. Get it out quick. And you can pop some big plays too, like that too, when teams are selling out with the blitz and bringing all this pressure. And I think Brock Purdy's going to be up to the challenge.
I think so too. And last point on the Vikings is I'm kind of curious to see how the Justin Jefferson operation goes. I want to see our defensive backs demonstrate that, toe-to-toe with anyone. I'm not too concerned about the Vikings' run game, but I also don't want to get too far ahead of myself. We have one game of a body of work from Nick Sorensen. I want to see that stack on top of each other. But I do want to see our defensive backs against a premier wide receiver. You could argue the Jets have those, but we know that Justin Jefferson is the real deal. I want to see how that stacks up. And if we continue to demonstrate that we are able to lock down premier receivers, or at least hold our own, I'll feel pretty good about the way the rest of the season could go, knock on wood, if we stay healthy.
Yeah, and it's okay if Sam Darnold goes 10 for 10 and hits Justin Jefferson a bunch of times. As long as you're keeping in front of him, you're making tackles, and you're not getting hit with big plays. And I think there might be more points scored in this game. The Niners did pretty well scoring 32 points, but just, from an over-under standpoint, I would be more into betting the over on this game, because I think the 49ers are going to do a number on the Vikings defense. And what is the 49ers defense going to do against Justin Jefferson? How does Sam Darnold look? Those are some of the questions I have, and I think that the offensive line potentially better from the Minnesota Vikings here in this one too. So it's going to be a fun one, and you never know how things are going to go. Go get a win in Minnesota, 49ers. What are we doing? 1992? That's insane.
Embarrassing.
Unacceptable.
Get out of here. All right. So we got our last famed segment here, and then I know we both got to get out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's affirmations time. Okay, so for those of you who've never seen affirmations, this is our opportunity to give you the mouthwash from Twitter, to give you the happy, optimistic, good-feeling feedback about players, coaches, and beyond. So without further ado, let's get this music going. You want to go ahead and start?
Yeah, I'll get it going with the affirmations. As we know, election season is upon us,
Sourdeath Sam.
and election season is the worst season. And we've got our own left versus right in the 49ers media, in the 49ers content creation universe. And I want to send affirmations to both Team Cone and Team Lombardi. Can we come together as a people, as a 49ers creation community, and move forward as a people together? There's enough content to be created by everyone. And there's so many people that do great podcasts, that are great writers about the 49ers, beat writers, radio guys, TV guys. The 49ers are in my opinion, the most well-covered team in the entire NFL, maybe in the entire sporting world. There's enough content for everybody. I see some cattiness happen sometimes. And I think, Sam, you and I are the ones to bring people together, specifically you, Sourdeath Sam. And so my affirmations are love and community and bringing people together. And it starts with David Lombardi and Grant Cohn.
Hell yeah. I've been trying to host a debate with them, but that's another story.
I did too. I reached out to both of them a couple years ago. And
dude, I think we all know. Like it would be such good television. But,
it's never gonna happen.
Lombardi's being stubborn. I'm going to show some love to Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, you got a lot of people in your business right now trying to get up in your HIPAA laws. Just stay strong and make the best decision for yourself. I mean, we would love to have you. Obviously, you know Jordan Mason's a dog. So just trust your gut. Trust your Achilles tendon, because we'd rather see you upright as long as possible than a short burst and a pop. We love you. Get back on the field when you're ready. We'll be stoked to have you.
It's phenomenal. How many do we do?
We'll do one more each.
Okay, one more. I've got one for Kyle Shanahan. The player that everyone said is the most important player for your football team, in Christian McCaffrey during the offseason, ever since he's showed up. It was almost like everyone forgot how good Kyle Shanahan is. As if one player made his offense. One player made his running game. The 49ers, and maybe Kyle Shanahan's super strength, his superpower is his ability to not only coach, but identify other coaches and have a good coaching staff. And it's not just him. And we've seen his tree and branches grow throughout the NFL now. And so it was really cool to go out there and watch a week one game against a team that was supposed to be one of the better teams in the AFC and see the 49ers roll over them. See the 49ers with the backup running back put up 147 yards on the ground. And if Kyle Shanahan just loosens his grip a little bit, I think he can. He doesn't need to force the 49ers to win the Super Bowl. He can allow the 49ers to win the Super Bowl because they're ready. Kyle Shanahan, let's go. This is the year.
That was a good one. I feel like I don't ever give him enough affirmations. I think my last one is going to be. I think my last one is going to be my fucking guy, Jake Moody. It's my fucking guy, Jake Moody. I think you got a lot of trouble last year because people could not stop staring at all the draft picks you could have been. It's not your fault. You didn't pick you at that round. They picked you at that round. And you went and you put on a pretty damn good season for a small moment in history where had the longest field goal kick in Super Bowl history. And then you start off the season as the leading scorer of the 49ers. 20 points, 2 50-yard field goals. And I appreciate it, because if there's one thing we don't want to worry about this season, it's are we going to be able to get points from our kicker? Because frankly, we're already seeing teams in week one letting their kickers go. So I don't take you for granted. I appreciate you. I love you always. Thank you, Jake Moody.
Hey, and he even made the team, unlike the guy who was drafted right after him, too. So if you want to talk about third-round picks, it could have gone a lot worse than Jake Moody.
That's what I'm saying. That's my dog. Well, brother, one last affirmation real quick. I appreciate you for hopping on. It was an absolute pleasure. I respect the hell out of you. I've been listening to you and Croc for a long time. I'm sorry you ended up with the landmine of a weird tech issue show, but you've been an absolute mensch. I'm glad you don't have an echo, because it feels like at least you and I can talk, even if everyone in the chat is disappointed that they can't hear me. But I do so much appreciate you. The talk was amazing. Obviously, you're such a pro at this, and just want to give you your props and your flowers, because you're an absolute G.
Well, I think
And the hat is so fire, dude.
I appreciate the invite. Sourdeath Sam, I love what you're doing. Your angle is so much different than everybody else's, and keep doing it. I've heard you're a new golfer too, so maybe we'll have to go work out the kinks over there, because that's like all that golf is.
Brother, yeah, if you want to see technical issues, put me on a fucking golf course. Watch me. You will see me be so disappointed in myself. It's actually beautiful. I think Grant Cohn and I are perfect for a golf course together, because I think we're both wired to just be self-deprecating beyond belief. But brother, I will let you take the lead. You'll give me some advice, I'm sure. Like you are at podcasting and hosting, I'm sure you're an excellent golfer. So just please don't be ashamed of me when I'm looking for my ball for the 8th time.
I am much better podcaster than a golfer. It's a bewildering sport. For how much time I've spent, which is almost as much golfing as podcasting over the last 4 years since I started golfing. Getting better slowly, but it's amazing how much work you have to put in to get one stroke better in the game of golf.
It's brutal, man.
And I love
Absolutely brutal. Well, thank you so much for hopping on. I'm going to sign everyone off. I know you got to get out of here, but ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause. Brian Peacock. Thanks for hopping on, brother. I'm going to sign everyone off.
I appreciate it. See you, man.
All right. Well, we did it. You might have heard me 2 times this whole time, but that's one more time than you usually get. And maybe that's special. Maybe that's unique. Maybe that's something to remember. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for sticking it out. Everyone in the comments, I appreciate you guys sticking it out. Axel Munoz says, love y'all. I love you too, dog. I love you too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You guys are real ones. Matt said, echo almost kind of fixed. I think you have 2 mics causing the feedback. I'll figure it out. I'll call the Geek Squad, have them come over here and just vibe out on my setup. But guys, thank you so much. As always, I appreciate you. Please, please, please continue to watch the show. Make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, and don't be a stranger. Hit me up on the comments. They can hear me again. Maybe it wasn't me. Maybe this was your fault, Brian. Maybe this was your fault the whole time. I'm watching you, brother. I'm watching you. But in the meantime, I'm going to hop off. I got things to do. So do you. Get some sleep. I'll see you next week. Go Niners. Fuck the Vikings. Let's get it.